Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the internet. Now, we are continuing with the Whitleypedia Top 100 Games of All Time. And today we are going, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We're almost over. It's from 40 down to 31. And these are some terrific games. Each one objectively better than anyone that came before, right? Now, what I've classified these as, and I know everyone has really been reacting extremely positively to my sort of non-traditional approach of clustering games according to non-traditional categorization. Today, what we're doing is the Whitleypedia Yeah, I Could See That games. So these are games that are always on the People's Choice Top 100. They're very popular, perennial classics. Okay, so let's start off, and then I've subjectively categorized these from the least I could see that to the most I could see that, right? For all of you. All right, so number 40, very popular game. I'm going to get in a little trouble that this one isn't higher. My number 40 is Pandemic. Now, Pandemic is almost always number one on the People's Choice, right? Very popular game. This is the Nevermind of cooperative games. Now, the theme actually I find a little bland, but most people love it. And when you're with them, with a group playing it, and you see that sense of, we need to save the world. We need to be over here or Mumbai is going to die. Oh, wait, no, we need to get back to the Centers for Disease Control here in Atlanta. We've got to do this. There's intensity. There's drama. If there's any game that might lend itself really well to a movie, this is definitely one of them. One problem is there's already been movies like that. I mean, I think there was a movie explicitly called Pandemic. If it were based on this classic cooperative game, it would be better. Pandemic, a terrific game, and I'm sure all of you who are watching this could say, Jared likes Pandemic? Yeah, I could see that. All right, next, my number 39, Seven Wonders. I think that this is a game that has gotten a little bit better as it has gone on, as expansions have come out and added just the right amount of new texture to the game. I think the Babel expansion is the best one that they've done so far, and I thought the Cities expansion was better than the Leaders expansion, and I thought the Leaders expansion was pretty good too. I don't know how many total expansions they'll do for this. I don't know how much more they can do with the game, but I'm excited to see it, right? Very much like I'm excited to see these ancient civilizations expand across all of human history. I'm interested to see the way this game moves forward. Now, you're going to ask, Jared, what's the best wonder? What's the most reliable one? I don't know. Giza will get you a lot of points. You know, it's fun with the Colossus of Rhodes to sneak in military victories that people aren't paying attention to. They're like, oh, he and I have the same number of military points. We'll tie. Oh, no, wait, he built up his wonder. No. Let's see. I like the Mankin Peace, right? If I'm saying that correctly, if I'm not, please forgive me. I like that there's only just one level. I don't particularly like Stonehenge, which is unusual because, as you know, I'm working on a game, Stonehenge Revenge, so I love to see Stonehenge in games. Anyway, Seven Wonders is a terrific game. Not a surprise that it's going to be on my list, or probably yours. So, yeah, you could see that. All right, moving on. Number 38. Now, something that I have been, until recently, perennially critical of is that the number one on Board Game Geek had been Twilight Struggle, because I just don't see that as a game with mass appeal. I don't think that it should be seen as the banner, the number one of our hobby. It's weird to me when people who are just learning about board games, they email me and they say, ooh, Jared, I want to get a board game. I see that the number one is Twilight Struggle. Would that be right for me? No, of course it wouldn't be right for you. But you know what would be right for you? It's right for a lot of people. I think this is, even though I've rated it as my number 38, I think it's the number one game of our hobby in terms of its mass appeal, right? And its replayability. And that would be Ticket to Ride. Specifically, I'm going to say Ticket to Ride Europe. I like some of the little tweaks that they put on there better than the Ticket to Ride America. There are lots of different versions of this. I don't know what your favorite is. Put it in the comment section below. Ticket to Ride Europe, best version of it. My number 38. All right, now my number 37. This is a deck building game, and this is sort of a next-gen deck building game that took some of the building blocks that were created in the first round of deck builders and took it to the next level. And that would be this guy right here, Legendary, an original game designed by Devin Lowe. Now, I'm sure you've all played it. It's a very popular game. I'm sure it's on most of our top 100 lists. For theme, of course, I prefer the Marvel. For gameplay, I think the Alien and Predator versions are better. What I'm looking forward to, as annoying as it's going to be when this happens, is a second edition of Marvel Legendary, where we can implement some of those creative new things that they've come up with for Alien and Predator, but with the more popular Marvel theme. So, Marvel Legendary. Okay, number 36. This is a game which took the gaming world by the proverbial storm, and the reason it did so is because it replaced a game which was popular but functionally unplayable, which was Arkham Horror. And of course, the game I'm talking about is Eldritch Horror. This is a terrific cooperative game. I love the art. I love the theme. I love that there's kind of like an Indiana Jones-ish element to it, where you're back in the earlier days of the 20th century, and you're running around the world, chasing things, fighting monsters, punching Nazis, trying to save the world from supernatural terror. Now, my favorite character on Eldritch Horror is the politician guy. I like to just sit there in San Francisco and get all this different gear and send it out to all my friends so they can win the day. I'd recommend, this game plays quite a few. I'd recommend 3 or 4. I remember one time playing with like 6 people. Or did we even add a 7th? We may have even added a 7th. And it was like riding your skateboard through wet cement, right? You just could not get through that game. So I just quit and said, oh, that's okay. I'll step out so other people can play. But really I was thinking, no, this is too much. If I wanted to play a game that took this long, I would play Arkham Horror. No, but seriously, Eldritch Horror is fantastic. If you haven't played it, be sure to. All right, my number 35 is a science fiction dungeon crawler with a popular intellectual property, and that would be Imperial Assault. Now, I'd played Descent 2.0, and so I was familiar with the way it worked, with the dice, the gameplay, sort of the dynamics between the players and the overlord, if you will. I prefer to see it with the Star Wars theme on it. Not necessarily because I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, but because, there are lots and lots of generic fantasy games like that, and so it's fun to see one with a different flavor to it. I remember there was a group of us who we were trying to play that Star Wars RPG, that new Star Wars RPG, and it didn't quite feel right. And I said, let's just do like a campaign of Imperial Assault. It's fun to have adventures. It's fun to shoot droids. It's fun to worry about, okay, we need to do this, but as soon as we do, all these other Imperials are going to come in and assault us, for lack of a better term. Number 35, Imperial Assault. All right, moving forward, we have a Spiel des Jahres winner, and that would be Camel Up. Terrific game. Terrific racing game. Although it's not really a racing game. It's more of a betting game, of course. I love Camel Up. It's a lot of fun to play with kids, I've noticed. It's a lot of fun to play with grown-ups. It's a lot of fun to play with serious gamers, with casual gamers. There's some interesting math involved in terms of calculating, okay, well, the chances of this happening are that, but the reward of my betting on this is that. So my favorite element of the game is stalling, where you know that everything is going to change, the math on the board is going to change as soon as that one die comes out. And so what can you do to postpone that? And it's a question of who's going to finally choke and roll, or because they have no choice, or who's going to take the risk to bet on this, and grab the orange 5 when that might not happen, that the orange ends up winning. The expansion recently came out, which I gobbled up as fast as I could. It's a modular expansion, which I appreciate that. This is one of those games that I'm always in the mood for. And so I would say to you, if you're ever feeling down, be sure to play Camel Up. Okay, this is my next one, my number 33. Oh man, we're 2/3 of the way through. It's so sad, but each game is so great. I can't talk about them enough. Now, one of the things that I've become a little renowned for here on the Dice Tower, sometimes I'll do some number crunching of different statistics related to rankings and so forth. And this is the only game that has appeared on every individual's top 100 that they've done for the Dice Tower. Every single one. You know what I'm talking about. Alien Frontiers. Alien Frontiers is a dice rolling worker placement game with a awesome and wholly underutilized, like vintage Ray Bradbury type of retro sci-fi theme attached to it. One of the things I like about this game and other games that are similar to it is there is a luck element where the luck drives your strategy rather than the luck just being good or bad, right? I mean, I prefer those games where you look at the dice you have and you say, okay, this limits my options, so I have to do that, but maybe it's better than to do that. Rather than, oh, I rolled a 2, that's bad, I really needed to roll a 5, right? So, Alien Frontiers, terrific game. If you've never taken a trip to the Alien Frontier, may I suggest it? My number 33. All right, number 32. This will not surprise any of you to see this is on my list. This is something I've talked about before on Board Game Breakfast, and that is Hanabi. Hanabi is a cooperative card game with one of the cleverest mechanical twists I think I'm familiar with in board gaming, which is you have a hand of cards and everybody else can see it, but not you. And then the gameplay is what clues do you give to your teammates so that you're able to play the cards in the right order, create the most dazzling fireworks display, and win the game. I will say this is one game where you kind of need to police your friends sometimes, or maybe your friends need to police you, because it's easy to make intimations that maybe you shouldn't. I remember playing with one person, and she had her hand of cards out. She would like point at one and like I'm gonna throw this one away, and try to like read my facial cues, like, oh, is this a good or a bad idea? As though the game were me going, no, or no, that's not the game. The game is the clues you give, and I actually think it's best to enforce a no table talk policy at all, which can be a little challenging because sometimes one of the reasons we play games is for the social aspect. But either way, Hanabi's a terrific game, and I'm proud to have it as my number 32. All right. Okay, the last one for today. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad, but it's so great. Now, from all the things that you've seen in me, this is probably the one where when you hear this, you're going to most say, yeah, I could see that would be on Jared's list. And that is, boom, Star Trek Fleet Captains. Something that Tom has said repeatedly is this is Star Trek in a box. I think this does Star Trek what X-Wing does to Star Wars in terms of approximating the gameplay the most. The components are terrific in terms of the different ships you get and you have access to. And what they really did is they took like all those ships that they'd been doing for Micro Machines and they just put like a HeroClix stand on them. So I think that minimized a lot of the expense of designing the game because they didn't have to start from scratch for that because they had that advantage with the components. They went to scrupulous detail with the cards and the actual gameplay in terms of saying, oh, here's a situation from the franchise that would be interesting to bump into, and oh, here's what would happen when a board cube actually appears, and oh, you want to play the Reginald Barclay character, and he'd probably be terrible, but he does this one thing that's amazingly well. I like that they, with the cards, you know, anytime you have cards that can serve different roles, where I can play it as a crew and it does this, or I can play it as an interrupt and it does that. Another thing I like with it is, even though it's not thematically correct, well, not thematically, even though it's not canonically correct to say that the Enterprise D and the Enterprise A are the same size, they do that, right? So they look approximately the same size. So it's not like in Attack Wing where you have like this teeny tiny little Enterprise A and then this enormous Enterprise D, because that's just less satisfying to see on the game. I really like the exploration component to it, where you have all your hexes out and they're all black, and when you get there you flip them over, and I think that captures the spirit of the franchise really well. I would like to see it as more of an exclusively cooperative game where like we're all part of Starfleet and we're all exploring, and bad guys may come up, but it not necessarily the one-to-one head-to-head us versus the Klingons or the Romulans or whomever. But that's a small complaint in a galaxy of praise for my number 31, Star Trek Fleet Captains. Okay, well, there we go. Another one down. I'm excited to have done this with you. Thanks for all your viewership. Thanks for your participation with comments and whatnot. It's always fun to meet and interact with fans of the Dice Tower that way. Next time, my list is my Proud to Be Faithful games. These are games that have been around a while, which are still terrific, and I'm happy to highlight. See you out there.